Hey guys, let's get more news about Miami Heat, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Proposed blockbuster trade send Heat $90 million champion. The Miami Heat need any help they can get back to the NBA Finals and win their fourth title as a franchise. Getting help will mean acquiring talented and experienced players, like Washington Wizards wing Kyle Kuzma. Bleacher Report's Greg Swartz proposed a blockbuster trade that would send Kuzma to the Heat. He outlined the following trade between the Heat, Wizards, and Orlando Magic in an August 12 story. Heat receive, Kuzma. Magic receive, Malcolm Brogdon, Josh Richardson, 2026 Lakers second-round pick. Wizards receive, Cole Anthony, Jett Howard, Nikola Jovic, Duncan Robinson, 2029 top 5 protected Heat first-round pick. Swartz then explained why Kuzma would appeal to the Heat. Kuzma averaged 22.2 points, 6.6 rebounds, 4.2 assists and made 35.5% of his catch-and-shoot threes last season. He'd be an ideal starting power forward between Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo as a scoring threat who can space the floor and serve as a willing passer. He played a huge part in helping the Lakers win a title in 2020. If Miami pulled off a trade for him, he would give the Heat another scorer. Better yet, he gives them another scoring wing, which they haven't had to put next to Butler since he joined the team in 2019. Kuzma plays for one of the NBA's worst teams in Washington. Because the Wizards are in the midst of a rebuild, he wouldn't have much of a future there on paper. NBA teams are keeping their eye on Kuzma's availability. ESPN's own Young Masuk reported in a July 17 story that NBA teams have interest in Kuzma. However, the Wizards are not looking to trade Kuzma as soon as possible. There is also interest around the league in forward Kyle Kuzma, but Washington will continue to operate with patience as it looks for young talent and draft picks, Young Masuk wrote. At 29 years old, Kuzma is square in his prime. He will also enter the second year of a 4-year, $90 million contract. Because of the length of that contract, the Wizards have plenty of time to decide what they want to do with Kuzma. The Heat may have to offer more for Kuzma than what Swartz outlined since his contract is cheap, knowing what he can do. While the Wizards have time to think about their next move, the Heat do not. Not only is Kuzma in his prime right now, but that contract becomes less and less expensive with each passing year. For the 2024-25 season, Kuzma will be paid $23 million. The season after that, it will go to $21 million, then $19 million in its last year. That could also factor into how his contract will only increase in value with each passing year. A team like Miami needs a player like Kuzma because he fits what they want on the court, and his contract could help them avoid the NBA's tax aprons. They can get better, and they wouldn't have to face financial repercussions for doing so. The Wizards may not have much use for him, but because of the advantages he provides, the price for him would not be low. Heat don't need a roster shakeup to fix one glaring flaw with the offense. The Miami Heat have been in the bottom 10 in ORTG for the last 2 seasons and could be on their way to 3. It's difficult for a team to dramatically change its results without a dramatic change to the roster, and the Heat will enter next season with the same core as the past 2 seasons. The offense, again, will sink or swim with Jimmy Butler's level of engagement and rely, again, on individual improvements from Bam Adebayo and Tyler Herro. One way to help nudge the offense in a more efficient direction is by adjusting where the team takes shots, especially swapping out some inefficient mid-range looks for shots beyond the arc and at the rim. The problem with getting more shots at the basket? The Heat don't have many guys who can get there consistently. Butler will be 35 and may not be looking for that wear and tear. Herro doesn't have the athleticism. Adebayo lacks the handle to drive through traffic. The Heat do, however, have the personnel to take more shots from beyond the arc. By taking a few steps back and prioritizing the three-point line, the Heat could return to the top half of the league in ORTG. Need proof? Look at the 2021-22 season, when Miami finished 12th in ORTG. The Heat that season were 4th in three-pointers made per possession. It helped that they made a league-leading 38% of their threes that season, but they also ranked 14th in three-point attempts per game. The Heat dropped to 14th in three-pointers made per possession the following season and 15th last season. Part of that decline is related to an expected drop in overall three-point percentage, but the Heat also took fewer threes relative to the rest of the league, dropping to 18th in three-point attempts per game last season. Erik Spoelstra has talked about a target number of 40 three-point attempts per game. That would have ranked second in the league last season and much more than the 33.7 Miami got up last season. Figuring out how to get up more shots from beyond the arc will be a priority this upcoming season. Part of that equation is reducing the amount of long twos. The Heat led the league in mid-range shooting frequency, so much so that generating an efficient offense became nearly impossible. Shooting 45% from the mid-range might seem great, but not when more than a third of your shots come from that area and are still only worth 2 points. Shots at the rim are also worth 2 points, but shooting 45% at the basket is considered poor. The best offenses shot 38% from three-point range last season, but those shots are worth an extra point. Do that math, 38% of 100 three-pointers equals 114 points. 45% of 100 two-pointers equals 90 points. So how do the Heat generate more threes and fewer long twos while returning a mostly unchanged roster? It starts with the highest usage players. Fortunately, Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo are already stepping out a bit more. Butler averaged a Heat tenure-high three-point attempts last season, and Adebayo has begun experimenting more with a three-point shot dating back to the end of last season and over the summer for Team USA. Minnesota Timberwolves Anthony Edwards loves Miami Heat duo. The Miami Heat are facing a roster conundrum, with Jimmy Butler's uncertain future giving the fans in South Beach a headache. His unavailability during the playoffs against the Boston Celtics was a significant factor in their first-round exit last season, and his contract situation has raised concerns about the team's long-term prospects. However, the Heat have a reputation for finding the right pieces to fit their system and culture. And a recent rumor suggests they might have the perfect long-term replacement for Butler on their radar. The player being linked with the Heat is Anthony Edwards. He is believed to have loved his experience with Bam Adebayo and Erik Spoelstra. According to Fox Sports, Bill Simmons said on a recent podcast, Anthony Edwards really loves Bam Adebayo and Erik Spoelstra. He loved his experience with them. Simmons further added, "Don't be surprised, story drop." Am I dropping it now? Edwards, just 23 years old, is coming off his best season, having averaged 25.9 points, 5.4 rebounds, and 5.1 assists while leading the Minnesota Timberwolves to the Western Conference Finals. His impressive performances have caught the attention of many, and his stint with Team USA at the Paris Olympics has only further solidified his reputation as a superstar in the making. At the Olympics, Edwards' chemistry with Adebayo, who was also representing Team USA, was particularly noteworthy, and it's clear that the two have developed a strong bond. The speculation has sparked excitement among Heat fans and raised eyebrows among the Minnesota Timberwolves supporters. While it's still speculative, the idea isn't entirely far-fetched. After all, LeBron James' experience with Dwyane Wade at the 2008 Olympics surely played a part in his decision to take his talents to South Beach a couple of years later. However, it's also important to note that Edwards is under contract with the Timberwolves for the foreseeable future. So, any potential move would have to wait, or the Heat would have to come up with an undeniable offer. For now, Heat fans can only speculate about the possibility of Edwards joining their ranks. One thing is certain, though, the franchise's ability to attract top talent and build a competitive roster deserves more respect than it gets at times. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Anthony Edwards? Leave your opinion in the comments.